issue is that this company is already existing. It's already on the stock exchange. It's a brand name. I can see the products. Perhaps I use them. I eat, drink, or whatever, this product. So I can tell. So the right offer market, yes.
Yes.
But the IPO, no. So which tends to speak to what you said about whether investors are still a lot wary about new entrants into the market, but more confident in those who are already existing.
Yeah, you are 100% correct. The investors are wary, and regulators are also a bit more careful now in approving, new IPOs. And the economy in general as well, it has not produced enough, enough winners, enough local winners, who have the, corporate governance, track record, and who have, very solid business model, that can generate significant investor interest in the equity they are offering to the market. But going forward, the interesting thing is that the outlook is a bit more brighter now. I mean, in 2018, we are looking forward to MCN's IPO, although they had to be prodded by regulators, who, in a way, try to force them to list. But it would be a very big transaction if, according to the information out there, they are planning to raise about $500 million, in the equity market, and with a valuation of over $3 trillion, that could potentially take the market cap of the Nigerian equity market very close to $19 trillion before the year ends. So that would be a major listing to look out for.
What exactly does the company gain by listing, selling old shares or selling new shares via an IPO in the market? What exactly? Why do you list?
You could list in order to raise capital. Maybe you need the capital to probably, expand your infrastructure, to probably spend in research and development or in advertising. And you could also list to even get, more customers to be aware of your name, to ensure more customer loyalty. If a company like MCN Nigeria, which has been part of Nigeria's growth story in the last 2 or 3 decades, comes out to list, you are very sure that they will generate significant interest from both the retail and the institutional investors, and it's going to deepen their brand awareness in the market as well.
So that takes us to this conversation about, let's move a little bit to the debt side because of time. On the debt side, we saw 3 Nigerian banks, Zenith, UBA, and Fidelity, raised a record $1.4 billion, and that's the largest combined on Nigerian market across African continent. That's a good one.
It was a good one. The debt market was quite interesting last year, although if you look at the structure of the transactions that occurred last year, we didn't really have enough of local currency bond issuances because of the elevated interest rate environment and the fact that the federal government was practically crowding out everyone in the local market.
Now, you don't want to do local currency last year.
You don't want to.
You don't want to get in the middle of 20%?
Yields were quite high, and there is a duration.
Only few state governments were able. Only Lagos State, I guess, was able to be doing anything. If you get into that, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, definitely.
So our banks went overseas?
They went overseas, where the appetite is quite high, because for most foreign investors, if you're looking at yields in their local markets, they are quite low, so there is this very strong, push sentiment, which has led to heightened demand for emerging and frontier market Eurobonds, where yields are a lot more higher. And for the banks that went out to list, they also took advantage of the fact that the economy was coming out of a recession, and we were witnessing improved macroeconomic stability. Last year was a year of recovery for the economy. We went from a negative growth to a positive growth. Current account balance stabilized, and the central bank increased their level of intervention in the foreign exchange market, which stabilized the naira and also improved, the sentiment and the confidence foreign investors had in the Nigerian market. So these Nigerian banks went out to take advantage of that, and we saw Zenith Bank, they reached $100 million at a yield of around 7.4%, which was not so far off from the yield that the federal government even raised,
the sovereign Eurobond.
The sovereign Eurobond that we had in Q1 2017. We also had Fidelity. They issued $400 million, although at a very high yield of around 10.3%, to reflect the credit rating of the bank. UBA also made their debut in the Eurobond market, raising $500 million in the market. So in total, we raised $1.4 billion. And if you also take into consideration the amounts raised by the federal government, in Q1 we raised $1.5 billion, and we also had a diaspora bond issuance in
$500 million?
$300 million,
$300 million, yes.
Later in the year. So that took it to around $1.8 million raised by the federal government. So if you had this to what the corporates raised, Nigeria's sovereign and corporate raised over $3 billion in the Eurobond market alone
last year.
In which was quite interesting.
I think we can have a handshake to that. It tells a lot about the macroeconomic environment and the interest.
The appetite is there for foreign investors.
But where appetite is there is that folks are also waiting on the wings that we might just rev up privatization. That's why we're finishing this conversation and get some listings. Gone are the days of the TCPC, where the First Bank, the UBA, the old Union Bank, privatization were done. Then we got a second phase. Then we got a few other in. But we haven't seen anything on the privatization side.
We have seen a bit, although the major issue is that the newly privatized companies, do not have the business model necessary for them to come to the market to list. In the last decade, it was an era of privatization, and it was very successful. Because the biggest companies, that are in the market today, like BCC, yes. Like Ashaka Cements, like Owando.
No, Nigerians are looking for the fertilizer company in Delta State, for example.
LMA.
Yes, they're looking for the LMA Petrochemical. They're looking for the Gencos and the Discos in the market.
Exactly. Now, in the current decade, we have seen a bit of privatization, particularly of the PHC and legacy assets, the Gencos and the Discos. But the problem is that these companies currently, their business model is not solid enough for them to come to the market to raise capital, because they are being hindered by lack of structural reforms to liberalize the power markets, to ensure that the pricing of tariff in the market is more cost reflexive. That would probably lead to them to record better earnings and will prompt investors to invest in them when they come out to list in the market. Okay. But essentially, there are still a number of privatization that could be done that could in the long term, benefit the capital market.
Let's continue this conversation from here next time. You heard about the new land use charge in Lagos State?
I did.
You do? Okay. You need to listen to this conversation with Taiwo Oyedele, the head of tax and regulatory services at PwC. He's coming up next to discuss why Ambode wants his money right now on the table.